Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my FPL channel. I am FPL D-Unit, and today you're here for your pre-season content yet again. We've covered the midfielders, we've covered the defenders, and today we are covering the best goalkeepers. I have deep dived into all the options, the 5.5s, the 5s, the 4.5s, and the 4 million options. And I've got some concluding evidence that hopefully is going to help you with your own decisions about which way you want to go. It does come down to also whether you want a bench boost very early in the season or if you want to wait until your second wildcard in terms of how you want to set your goalkeepers up. With that being said, without further ado, smash a like on the video. Leave me a comment about what strategy you're doing with. Are you doing 4.5 million rotators? Are you doing a 5 million and a 4 or a 5.5 and a 4? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button and let's get into it. The goalkeeping situation. Now, look, I'm not going to lie. Last season, I had a mare with goalkeepers. I seemed to own good goalkeepers at dud times. And then when I either sold them or I bought them, it was the other way around. I actually wasted 6 of my 37 free transfers last season on goalkeepers. And I still finished inside the top 5K. It's a miracle that I actually finished that high when I wasted so many transfers trying to change my goalkeepers. This year, a lesson learned from last year, I will not be doing that. I will literally not be chasing, I will not be making any goalkeeper transfers outside of wildcards. My 2 wildcards, that's the only time I'm going to be changing them, and I may completely change them up during those periods of time. But I'm hoping to nail it game week 1 so I don't have to sit there and think about it again until I wildcard, most likely in game week 12. And then God knows when I'll wildcard in the second part of the season. But last year it was a wildcard 30. I'd imagine it'll be some time around that time again as well. So the things to consider are the fixtures, the form, and most importantly with goalkeepers, the clean sheets. Because you don't want to be investing in a goalkeeper that's not keeping clean sheets because they don't actually have that many routes to points. Because you don't often get penalty saves and you don't often get bonus points. Especially with the fact that whenever you do concede a goal, you can pretty much rule out every goalkeeper getting a bonus point. So then you need to think about your team structure, the price points you want to spend in the rest of your team, and how much money you actually want to spend in your goalkeepers department. Do you want a set and forget 5.5 million option you're going to play every week regardless of the fixture, or do you want to take a little bit of a gamble and go with 2 4.5 million rotating goalkeepers? The other things to keep in mind here are the changes to the BPS system this season for goalkeepers. So for a save inside the box, last year it was +2 on the bonus point system. This year it's +3 for saves that are inside, so a shot that's taken from inside the box. Ones from outside the box are unchanged. They're still +2 to the bonus point system. And obviously, this has changed slightly for penalties now. I don't know why they've changed it for penalties, but now it's instead of +9 for a penalty save, it's now only +8. But you also then get, on top of that, the +3 BPS for the penalty, the save inside the box. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a good improvement, I think, for goalkeepers in general that save a lot of good shots rather than just a lot of speculative efforts. The defensive contributions don't affect goalkeepers at all in any way, shape or form. But as I said, the BPS change slightly benefits them because of the fact that penalties now are not worth anywhere near as many points. And obviously, if you save one, it's going to be good for your goalkeeper. The key though, however, is still the clean sheets and the saves, because really that's the only way goalkeepers really, week to week, make you any points. Now, the last thing you need to keep in mind is goalkeeper rotations. Is it worth taking the risk of benching points every week with your goalkeepers? That is the key conundrum when you do go for the 4.5 million rotating options. And as you can see in my draft, that's exactly what I'm pumping for at the moment. Now, I've got Kelleher and Petrovic because they do actually rotate pretty damn well from week to week. So obviously in game week 1, it'd be Kelleher against Nottingham Forest. But then Petrovic has a really nice run of fixtures for Bournemouth. Now, the preseason form for Bournemouth has been concerning me. When you're getting 4 put past you by Man United, even Man United have discovered Amrin Ball and it's going to be amazing and they're going to shoot up the league. or Bournemouth have a few defensive deficiencies, which will need to be ironed out pretty quick. Now, I do expect both of these keepers actually to make a lot of saves. So for that reason, they'll probably do that. Now, if I looked at the clean sheets for last year, which we're about to do again in a second, that's where it becomes critical. Now, as you can see, I'm only spending 9 million in my goalkeepers. Now, there is a chance, a small chance, I could change this up and go for like a Sanchez, so I'm covering the Chelsea defence, and then a 4 million rated goalkeeper. Now, in tonight's game between Tottenham and Spurs and Newcastle, Kinski's actually starting in goal. So there could be a 4 million rated goalkeeper starting for Tottenham. If that's the case, I'm almost 100% likely to go with a 5 million rated goalkeeper and Kinski from Spurs. But at this moment in time, it's two 4.5 million rotations. One of them could become Jose Sarr, by the way, as well, because Wolves have a very nice early run for the fixtures to begin the season. So the clean sheets and goals conceded. Now, I use this for the defenders one, and it's even more relevant for goalkeepers because realistically, as I said before, the points come from the saves made and the clean sheets. So the reason why Jordan Pickford has been such a good asset for such a long time is because Everton historically are pretty good as a defensive team. They keep a lot of clean sheets, 12 clean sheets last year. That's 2 less than the team that kept the most, which was Liverpool 14. Only 1 behind Arsenal that everyone always raves about how good Arsenal's defence is. So for that reason, it's really important to look at these stats. Now, a lot of people say that Fulham's defence is really good, but if you have a look at Leno scored significantly less points than the other goalkeepers I'm going to be talking about because he only kept 5 clean sheets last year. If you're not keeping clean sheets as a goalkeeper, you're not really going to be getting that many points. Now, that's why it's not a very exciting transfer whenever you transfer goalkeepers for this very reason. But the teams that I just want to sit there and people think, oh, they could be really good from like a defensive standpoint. Aston Villa kept 9 clean sheets. Bournemouth, 9 clean sheets. Brighton, 8 clean sheets. Fulham, 5 clean sheets. Spurs, 6 clean sheets. West Ham, 7 clean sheets. Wolves, 8 clean sheets. Now, a team that really actually surprised me on here is Man United. Somehow they kept 10 clean sheets last year. I would expect in season 1.5 or whatever of Amron Ball that we're likely to see a lot more clean sheets, particularly if they start dominating and keeping the ball. They're less likely to be conceding goals. And what I've seen in preseason so far, they are pressing so high up the pitch and dominating the team in their own half that maybe there will be more clean sheets against those lower ranked teams. It is definitely something that has got my curiosity. And it is really important to look at this kind of data because this is where the goalkeepers make their points. Clean sheets and saves. Now, as for Burnley, Leeds and Sunderland, they obviously kept a lot of clean sheets this year, but they're likely to be in the bottom 3 teams for clean sheets this year. So I wouldn't be looking at them going, I want to pick a Burnley goalkeeper. Probably not going to happen, and I wouldn't advise doing that. So on to the fixture difficulty rating for game weeks 1 to 6. And look, as I said before, I want to look at Brentford's run, which is why I've got Kelleher. There isn't a dud fixture really in there for them in the first 6 weeks at all. If I then look at Bournemouth outside that Liverpool game, you can see why I'm quite keen on the Brentford-Bournemouth rotation because there's a lot of green in there. And as I said, I want to get through to game week 12. And if you extend it on a bit further, the rotation does work pretty well, pretty much for the whole first 10 weeks. Gets a little bit dicey after that, but I'm okay with that. I can have a couple of dud weeks. As I said before, Sanchez as well could be a great option. You can see the first 6 weeks there for Chelsea again also look really good. And as I said, Spurs with Kinski, if he did start again with Sanchez, the fixtures for Spurs outside of game week 2 also look really good. Now, I don't like Ray's fixtures for Arsenal, which is why I'm not keen on him in particular. Liverpool's fixtures as well. I mean, Becker's also got that injury history behind him as well. And there's just better players to pick from Liverpool, let's be honest. Villa, obviously Martin is suspended for the first game of the season. There's still rumours he potentially might leave. But Pickford as well, as you can see there, Everton's fixtures are pretty good for the first 6 game weeks. So again, he is probably likely to get off to a good start. And we just know, historically speaking, that David Moyes, even Sean Dyche before him, just very good defensive managers in general. Now, you could take a punt on a Sunderland and a Leeds. I mean, their fixtures aren't too bad. But again, it's that transition to the Premier League that you've really got to be concerned about. So on to the 4 million hopes. And look, as I said, I think Kinski's the best option here. And I've included a couple of different things here that to help you try and factor this in. Because again, goalkeepers do make a point for every 3 saves they make. Now, Kinski, in his 6 starts last year, kept 1 clean sheet, but he actually kept 4 saves per game. He averaged 4 saves per game. So he was getting an extra save point each game. Unfortunately, he was also conceding a lot of goals in these 6 games that he was in the team for. But then Spurs weren't really interested in the Premier League when he was starting. It was more about the Europa League, and I'm not sure what to think about that because, as I said, 1.97 expected goals conceded per 90 is not good stats. Yeah, but I think he is realistically the best option of these 4. Now, Tom Heaton potentially could start in goal for Man United. I haven't bothered putting his stats up there because the last time he actually played a game in the Premier League was a significant amount of time ago, which I don't think is relevant to today. But if Onana's not up and fit and available for game week 1, I actually think Tom Heaton might start. He was very good against Bournemouth, didn't do anything wrong. I thought he looked more confident and assured than Buendia. And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually started the season if Onana's not fit. But I do expect Onana to be fit, which is why I think he's more of a hope than a reliable asset to pick. Then we've got Dubravka. Now, Newcastle have just signed Ramsdale, which means Dubravka's definitely not going to be getting a game at Newcastle. But there is murmurs that he may then move to potentially a Burnley or a team like this, and he could be a really good asset. He averaged 2.9 saves per game when he played last year. He had 10 starts and kept 5 clean sheets in that time as well, and only had an expected goals conceded of 1.12. Now, he's realistically going to go to a team that is going to be conceding a lot more shots, which is, you do have to take that into consideration, but he could be a really good buy that potentially, if he gets a move before the end of the transfer window, he might be another 4 million rated goalkeeper that's starting. And then Darlow looked like he could have been the 4 million goalkeeper at Leeds, but they've now signed another one. So realistically, he's not going to be an option unless the new goalkeeper absolutely just spuds it up. But he had a 0.43 expected goals conceded per 90 when he did play in the Championship, 1.29 saves per game. He only had the 7 starts and 4 clean sheets, but, it wasn't horrible. But I mean, 4 million, if you get a 4 million playing goalkeeper, it's gold dust. And then obviously I've just put Turner and Vladimirson as other options potentially if you just wanted to look there, but realistically they're not going to be playing any games. So onto the 4.5 million ratings, and we have these 4, the best rotators I think in the game. Now, you could consider Areola unlucky, but look, honestly, I watched him against Man United in pre-season and he was horrible. And look, West Ham, there are rumours they want to sign a goalkeeper, probably because of the fact that he was so horrible. Perry's just been signed by Leeds to replace Darlow. So again, wouldn't be thinking about Darlow because I think he's going to be the starting goalkeeper. Weiss, Roofs and Patterson for their respective clubs could be options, but realistically I don't think they are, which leaves me with these 4. And we're going to start with Bart Verbruggen, or as I like to refer to him, Bart Simpson. Now, I wasted so much time with getting him for my bench boost last year and it didn't work out. He had Leicester and they hadn't scored in 9 games, and then they put 2 past Bart Simpson while he was ported out of the Simpsons. In reality, that's probably where he should be. He did get 1 assist last year, but he only had 7 clean sheets, no penalty save, 5 yellow cards, and he hadn't expected goals conceded per 90 of 1.47. 2.53 shots per game saved, though, was not too bad, but I just don't like him. He was rubbish for me last year. It's very hard for me to recommend someone that was just no good for me last year. I definitely refer to him as Bart Simpson because of the fact that he'd probably go better playing a character in The Simpsons than he does in goal for Brighton. That's just my honest opinion. Make of it what you want. Then we've got the other 3 options. Jose Sarr, I really like him. Wolves, outside of the Man City game and Newcastle in the first 4, actually have an amazing run of fixtures for the first 9 or 10 game weeks of the season. So they are really good. 29 starts last year, 7 clean sheets in that time. He became much better under Pereira when he took over as well from Martin O'Neill, so that was good. Gary O'Neill, sorry. So he, again, 1.46 expected goals conceded per 90, but he had that 2 penalty saves, which was absolutely massive, and got 2 monster hauls because of it. He did average as well, 2.45 saves per game, which is pretty good too. And again, he rotates really well with Kelleher or Petrovic, depending on which way you wanted to go. Outside of game week 1, the rotation's really good. Then we've got Petrovic. Now, back in 23-24, he played for another club that I think got relegated that season, and which is why his stats are a little bit skewed. 22 starts that year. He had 5 clean sheets. Didn't get carded, actually, ironically, from his 22 starts, which is interesting. Maybe that's because of the fact that he never had to worry about wasting time because they were behind, I'm not sure. He averaged 1.58 expected goals conceded per 90, but he did have an average of 3.41 saves per game. So that's an extra point per game that Petrovic was averaging in that season. Then we have a look at Kelleher. Signed from Liverpool, I would argue probably an upgrade on Flecken from last season for Brentford. People worrying about how Brentford are going to go this year. They've actually lost no defenders. I would actually argue they've upgraded their defence. Keller already had 2.7 saves per game when he did represent Liverpool. He actually had 1 penalty save in his 10 starts as well, which is unbelievable, and 4 clean sheets. And he had an expected goals conceded of 1.11. That's obviously going to go up playing for Brentford. But again, there's a lot to like there. And for 4.5 million, yeah, I think he's a pretty good option, which is why him and Petrovic currently sit in my own team. So on to the 5 million options, and other options I did consider here were James Trafford. Now, James Trafford could be an amazing asset for Man City, but we don't know at this present point in time whether he's going to be the starting goalkeeper or he's going to be starting as the 2 and then fighting it out with Edison or Ortega. I would expect Ortega to leave. Again, I would probably expect Pope to leave as well, potentially, if Ramsdale takes his place as the goalkeeper. This is why they're not in the selected 4. But if they go to another Premier League team that need a goalkeeper and become a starting goalkeeper, they're actually really good options. So that's something to keep in mind. Martinez is obviously suspended for the opening game of the season. And he could also move. There's also rumours that he could move. So again, he's one that you've really got to wait and consider. And then there's Vicario. And in tonight's game between Spurs and Newcastle, it's currently going on at the moment while I'm making this video, Kinski's actually started in goal to open that game. Vicario's actually on the bench. So again, he might not even be the first choice goalkeeper for Tottenham come game week 1. And then we've got the Clown. And I can't recommend the Clown. I know he kept 10 clean sheets last year, but my God, he's so infuriating to watch, let alone imagining what it would be like to own him in your FPL teams. So for that reason, I can't recommend him. And Man United, if they really want to get serious and challenge for like Europe again, they need to replace the goalkeepers. For that reason, I can't be recommending the Clown that is Anana. Then we brings on to the 4 goalkeepers I had picked. Sells, unbelievable last year, 13 clean sheets for Forest. He even got an assist, which is incredible. No penalty saves, only the 4 yellow cards for time wasting pretty much. Played every game, 1.32 expected goals conceded per 9, which did spike towards the end of the season when Forest hit that bit of form. But he averaged 3.16 saves per game. So again, he averaged an extra point per game when he played, which is massive for a goalkeeper. And then plus the 13 clean sheets, you can see why he is such a popular asset. And with the way that Forest play, he again should be one of the top scoring goalkeepers this season. Then we've got Sanchez. Now, Chelsea at time of recording haven't signed yet another goalkeeper to add to their masses that they own. They've got rid of a couple as well, with Kepa and Petrovic both leaving. So Sanchez should feel a little bit more comfortable, and Jorgensen I just don't rate at all. He also had 2.97 saves per game last season on average. So again, he's almost averaging that point a game extra. He also saved a penalty, 1.2 expected goals conceded per 90, not too bad. And he did end up actually keeping 10 clean sheets as well, which is, again, pretty good from his 32 starts. So yeah, I think there's quite a lot to like there, and I understand why people want to take it on. Chelsea have an amazing fixtures early on as well, and you can take advantage of that. Henderson finished like an absolute train on fire last season. Actually ended up with 11 clean sheets, so it was really good for his 4.5 million starting price last year. He's been bumped to 5% this year. He averages 2.74 saves per game, so almost an extra point per game in terms of saves as well, which is interesting. I also had the penalty save, as I said. I think the fixtures early on are what's putting me off Henderson. So Chelsea away, Aston Villa away in the first 3 games of the season. Not ideal. You really need another goalkeeper to be rotating with him. Again, if Kinski's starting a goal, you could potentially rotate him with Kinski. That actually works quite well. So again, that's something to monitor. And then we have Bernd Leno. Now, Leno actually had 2 assists last year, which is pretty crazy, but he only had 5 clean sheets and 1 penalty save. Now, when you only keep him 5 clean sheets, I'm surprised he's been priced at 5 million. I would have thought he'd be more likely to be 4.5 is my gut feeling on his price point. 2.89 saves per game. So again, he's almost averaging an extra point per game from saves. But that 5 clean sheets is not ideal. You really want goalkeepers that are going to be keeping, on average, between 8 and 10 and getting those save points. He didn't get anywhere near that. And so for that reason, I just think he's overpriced at 5 million. That's just my gut feel. Even though in theory, 1.26 expected goals conceded per 90 isn't bad, it's just not good enough at 5 million for a goalkeeper, I don't think. And then on to the 5.5 million premiums. And look, normally I'd say this is a hard bracket, but I feel like 3 of these are just easy ignores, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Edison, I expected him to lose his place to Trafford. However, he's definitely the most attacking of the goalkeepers. 4 assists recorded yet again last season. This dude just gets so many assists as a goalkeeper. It's unbelievable when he does. No penalty saves last year. Expected goals conceded per 90 of 1.14. Again, he doesn't make many saves though. 2.08 saves per game. You're not getting really any points from there. So you are relying on him getting those clean sheets and those assists for the points. And I just think that James Trafford, from what I've seen and what I've watched, is probably a better goalkeeper in terms of goalkeeping than Edison. So I expect him to probably lose his place. So I think he's an easy avoid. Then we've got David Raya, 2.26 saves per game. Again, Arsenal don't really concede too many shots. And as you can see there, expected goals conceded of 0.92. This didn't translate into the huge amount of clean sheets that realistically he should have had. He only had the 13 clean sheets from 38 starts. And with the defence that Arsenal keeps on people banging on about, didn't save any penalties. And he, against the weaker teams, just kept conceding a goal off like stupid XG, like numbers. And I just think with Arsenal's start to the season, it's not ideal for clean sheets. So for a reason, I just don't think he's worth the risk. If you're a wild card in game week 7, that's when I'd buy Raya or like an Arsenal defender or whatever. For the first 6 game weeks, I wouldn't be interested in him. And I think for that reason, he is just an easy avoid. That brings us on to Jordan Pickford. And Jordan Pickford, I actually think probably is he's probably the best premium in the game in terms of goalkeepers. I think that if I was to spend 5.5 million on a goalkeeper, I'd 100% be locking in Jordan Pickford. I'm surprised that he's actually owned by less teams than Raya. That I just struggle with. He averages 3.21 saves per game. He literally gets an extra point per game than these other 3 keepers because he makes more saves per game. He kept 12 clean sheets. That's 1 less clean sheet than Raya last year. He had 1 assist, and he also had 2 penalties saved. So you can see why he's just such good value. He's so consistent as well per season. If you go back and look at his last 4 seasons, he ends up on about the same points almost every single year. 1.21 expected goals conceded per 90 is pretty damn good as well, and he doesn't miss a game. He's very rarely injured. He's just a safe pick, and with Everton's opening fixtures, their hardest fixture is Liverpool for quite some time. I think he's somewhere you could just go again and just expect him to get similar points to last year. Set and forget goalkeeper. I think Everton's defence, they haven't lost anyone. I think they're going to be quite defensive again in terms of like the defensive numbers. So I think there's a lot to love there about Pickford. And then we've got Alisson Becker. Now they've signed a couple of goalkeepers that are going to come in and probably take over from Alisson over the next couple of years. His injury record's not great. Only 23 starts last year, but he did have 10 clean sheets in those 23 starts, which is almost 50% of the time. It's 40.7 or ever. No penalty saved. And again, expected goals conceded, almost on line with Raya, 0.97 when he was the starting goalkeeper, which is pretty elite. Alisson Becker does make more saves though. So on average, 2.79 saves per game is pretty damn good for Becker. Yeah, I just think if you had to look at those 4 individually, I think Pickford's definitely the standout. I'm surprised that he's not the highest owned. And I would think that in reality, other than Kelleher, he's probably the next best goalkeeper, and then it's probably Sells for me. So, what did you think of my goalkeeper deep dive? I'm intrigued to know, are you going with an expensive goalkeeper of 5.5 and then a 4 million and spending 9.5 million on your goalkeepers? Are you even spending even more than that? Or are you going the dangerous route as I am with 2 4.5 million rated goalies and rotating them? Let me know in the comments. I'll be back very shortly for my last video in this series, which will be the forwards and the deep dive for the best FPL forwards at every price point. Keep an eye out for that. Make sure you drop a like before you leave. And if you haven't already, smash that sub button. I've been FPL D-Unit, and I'll see you very soon.